And one of the places that I have been to fairly often and done quite a lot of work is Guyana, your beautiful country. So I love it there. I've got lots of friends there, and I've been there many times.
Guyana's presence at the Bird Fair at Rutland 2018 began with a summer evening held at the Dominica High Commission, which was a collaboration of wilderness explorers, the Dominica High Commission, and the Tourist Board. Also, the Guyana Tourism Authority, to mark the launch of Bird Fair 2018 that will be held at Rutland Waters in Oakham. This event attracted members of the press and other Caribbean high commissions and the wider cross-section of the travel and the tourism industry in the United Kingdom. Also attending on behalf of the Guyana High Commission were members of the diplomatic staff, and presentations were made by various representatives, namely birding guides from Dominica, Tony Thorne of Wilderness Explorers, and Waldeck Prince from Guyana on behalf of the Guyana Tourism Authority and the Tourism Hospitality Association of Guyana. The evening was well attended with speeches and talks on tourism and birding within the Caribbean region, which was accompanied by light drinks and snacks.
Anyway, thank you for coming along this evening. I'm now going to invite Her Excellency Janet Charles, who's the Acting High Commissioner for Dominica, and that is the Commonwealth of Dominica, not to be mistaken with the Dominican Republic, to say a few words of welcome.
It gives me great pleasure and an honor to welcome you to the Dominica High Commission. It's the second event. Last year we were here and we heard some beautiful stories from Dominica and Guyana. We share the building with St. Lucia, for those of you who are not aware, and that is how the Caribbean, we get along very well in the Caribbean. I'm not a tourism expert, so I'm going to stick to what I know best. I'm just a diplomat, so my task here this evening is very easy. I hope that you feel at home. I hope that you enjoy whatever the presenters have to say about Guyana and Dominica. But before I leave, I just want to say thank you to every one of you who have, in one way or the other, responded to Dominica when we were hit last year by Hurricane Maria. And whether it was through cash, kind thoughts, your prayers, writing about it, or just your moral support, on behalf of the government and people of Dominica, we want to say thank you. And we are bouncing back, so that's why I would like you to rediscover Dominica, come and visit Dominica. But before I hand over to the expert speakers, I just want to read something from our brochure. It says, find it here. It says, man craves nature, no matter how sophisticated we are, no matter how high-tech and fast-paced into the information age we have become, there is still a part of us that longs for that connection to the natural world. It's that second of serenity you feel, looking out of a high-rise window at the bay beneath. It is that adrenaline rush on an early morning run through a quiet park. In Dominica, more so than almost any other island, and I would say in the world, the natural world remains largely unspoiled and untouched. But Maria came and she touched and she destroyed everything that we had. But we are bouncing back, we are building back better, we are resilient, and tonight, Rachel is going to tell us all the good things about Dominica, and that's why we are called the Major Island of Dominica. So enjoy this evening.
Like previous years, once again, Guyana's presence was felt at the Rutland Bird Fair in the United Kingdom, which was held annually from the 17th to 19th of August. This year saw a celebration of 30 years of bird watching. The theme for this year's event was celebrating 30 years conserving nature worldwide, 1989 to 2018. The event attracted thousands. Even though the weather was a bit unstable at times, it did not prevent the steady flow of visitors to our marquee number 2, whereby there was much more genuine interest shown into visiting Guyana. The Guyana booth was manned by Claire Antel, Tony Thorne of Wilderness Explorers, Waldeck Prince, and yours truly, Carl Browne Abrams from the Guyana High Commission for the Guyana Tourism Authority. It was 3 grueling days of hard work, but it paid off as everyone that visited the Guyana booth left fully informed and satisfied. There were other tour operators who were also promoting and selling Guyana. So Guyana was well positioned this year as a must destination.
Gillian Howe from Geodesy, and we specialize in Latin America and the alternative Caribbean. And we've been here at Bird Fair. This is about our 24th Bird Fair. So many of these clients who are walking through the stalls, we know them, they've travelled with us in the past. And it's great to have their feedback. These people are not just bird watchers. They like every aspect of natural history. And I think that's the main selling point for Guyana, is the wonderful unspoilt forest that you have. That's the key thing that they know about. It's been quite a quiet year for business for Guyana, but I have noticed here, quite encouragingly, over the last day and a half, that more and more people have been asking about it. So that's a good thing. And it's the classic things that they want. They want a jaguar, they want a cock of the rock, they want all the kind of highlights of natural history. But you really can deliver that. So customers that we've had in the past, they've been very much delighted by it. I think also the people in Guyana is a strength that perhaps isn't being played to, because the chance for British people to speak directly to local people in Latin America and is a joy that perhaps could be made more prominent in the tourism material. Obviously, we like to take people into the interior, and I always have to have a long chat with folk to make sure they're prepared for maybe more rustic conditions than they might normally have. But this demographic very much appreciates that and embraces the fact that it's going to be more pioneering type of a holiday. They really don't want the crowds. The attraction of Guyana is that it's pristine forest, and you have to do things sustainably and sensitively, and that's the key to what you have, which is the way you market things. But I guess we just need to raise the profile of the country more.
Gillian, let's look at the transportation. How difficult it is for you to get the clients going into Guyana from Europe?
From our point of view, we're lucky that we know Trinidad well, so we tend to bring people in, and then that's not a danger, but you kind of lose a few nights. Potentially they might have come for 14 nights to Guyana, but when they know we're coming in via a country like Port of Spain, a city like Port of Spain, chances are they're going to say, oh, well, let's just stay a few nights there, let's go and see the scarlet ibis and so you're kind of, out of a 14-night holiday, maybe the time they spend in Guyana is being reduced somewhat. So if you had more direct flights, then you'd maximise the spend of the customer in your own nation.
Let's look at the lodges. I mean, what sort of improvements would you like to see for the client?
I guess it would be, our clients must have a private bathroom, and that's the limiting factor at the moment for us about where we can take people. So any communities that we're opening up new guest houses, they must have a private bathroom. It would be nice if we could have hot water, but it's not an essential. But enthusiasm of the local people goes a long way. If they lack something, then do it with a smile and a sparkle, and that human warmth will carry things a long way. Obviously, food, hygiene, and all the kind of health and safety of food preparation to make sure people don't have tummy upsets is critically important. But using local ingredients is also a joy when people are travelling. Don't try to produce international food. Go with home cooking, delicious, appropriate cuisine for the area. That's something else that you could make a feature of.
Gillian, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you this morning at the Bird Fair.
Thank you, Carl.
My name's Barry Walker. I run Menno Expeditions, and I've been running tours to Guyana for maybe 10 years. And one of the pioneers when Guyana was really not on the international map as a birding destination. I was fortunate enough to be invited by the World Bank and the Guyanese government to train up young guides in Guyana, which I did a 10-day course. Wally was one of my students, and saw that there was a great interest in the local people, especially in the interior of the country, which is more isolated, in working in nature tourism and promoting tourism, and the initiatives with some of the native communities like Surama, working with the Makushi and other local people, was very good. I think one of the things that's happening today is I used to sell maybe 2 tours to Guyana each year. Now I only sell 1, but that's bad for me, but it's not bad for Guyana because many other companies are starting to see the potential of Guyana and they're offering tours, so I have more competition. So Guyana is getting more tours, but I'm getting less tours, but that's okay. Yeah, as long as everyone's doing okay. So yes, one of the things that could be improved, if possible, is one thing is Guyana doesn't have a strong profile at events like this, and I think it's very important that the Guyanese Tourist Board participates in these kind of events, because what does Guyana have to sell? It has wildlife, indigenous cultures, a mixed race culture with different traditions, wildlife and birding. So they really should be at these events. And one thing that could perhaps be improved is that some of the properties we stay at, such as Karanambu and other places, have a limited number of rooms, and sometimes they get booked up very quickly because Guyana is getting more and more popular. And sometimes I find that I have a group and there's no rooms. So there is scope for more properties, I think, or perhaps some properties building some extra rooms. But great place. It's the parrot capital of the world. If you want to go and see parrots, you go to Guyana. There's 2 countries in South America that are particularly good for parrots. One is Guyana and one is Bolivia. Getting to Georgetown is not really a problem from the United States or from Europe, where the majority of the clients is. The person who has the most difficulty getting there is me, coming from Peru in South America. In the old days, there used to be a flight from Caracas to Georgetown, but I don't think there is anymore. So from getting from South America, it's only for the tour leader, because the clients are coming from Europe and the United States. It's very good, you know, you've got flights straight into Georgetown, or you go through TNT, the connections are good. I don't see a problem there. As we all know, I don't know I haven't been to Guyana for a few years, but I don't know what the road from Georgetown to Lethem is like, whether it's been improved, but in parts it was quite rough and quite a difficult drive. And also, one of the issues is the cost of transport is very high. Why that is, whether it's because of import tariffs on vehicles or whatever, or there's not enough suitable vehicles, it's quite hard to find suitable transport. There's only a few people offering that service in open truck. So maybe a bit more improvement on the transport system. But in general, part of the charm of the country is the fact it's not like the United States. It's totally different, and that's what people go to see.
Barry, I must say it was a pleasure talking with you, and I hope these improvements will happen. And I must say, Bird Fair is really doing well too as well, I hope.
Bird Fair's really going well, and Guyana should be here every year.
Thank you, Barry. It's a pleasure.
Hi, I'm Vivian and I work for a company called Mott Travel. We specialise in the Caribbean and surrounding South American countries and of course Guyana. We've been selling it very successfully for the last few years. This year particularly so. We've now got a small group trip going which is fully booked and we're putting on a second one. It's been very popular at this bird fair. Yesterday we had lots of interest in the destination, so I'm very encouraged and hopefully we'll send many more people in the forthcoming months, years, whatever.
Would you say that from the last time we spoke, it really has improved for Guyana?
Absolutely. The interest is there. We've been talking about Guyana for years and suddenly it seems like people are aware of the destination and actually want to go. So we're very, very encouraged with that.
What are some of the complaints you've had about getting into Guyana and some of the facilities?
Yeah, it's the biggest challenge is getting people there. So we usually send them via Port of Spain, Trinidad or Barbados. Sometimes the connections don't work so well. At the moment, it's a challenge getting them out of the country. They have to spend like the day in Trinidad before they can meet their international flights. So that's a bit of a challenge. And then, of course, with the internals, I was just talking to some clients this morning who are going, and they're very concerned about the luggage restrictions when they go in the interior and so on. But it all adds to the adventure.
What are some of the areas they're visiting actually? I mean, apart from, they get into Georgetown, what are your destinations?
Well, our clients and the bird fair clients obviously are interested in birds and nature and wildlife. So they don't hang around too much on the coast. They all want to get into the interior, into the small lodges, see as many animals as possible and just immerse themselves in the nature. So that's the focus.
For 2020, if we can look at it, how do you see Guyana and Mott as well?
Well, I think it's going to grow constantly, and we can see that already. I mean, we used to add it on, Trinidad and Tobago, and then maybe some days in Guyana. Now we're seeing that people actually want to go to Guyana as a destination. You know, I think if we had more accommodation, maybe, you know, a choice, more different places to send them within the country, well, better still. But it's very encouraging the way it is going.
Viv, I must say it's wonderful talking with you today at Bird Fair this year.
Thank you so much. And love
Success again for
as always, yes. Thank you.
I'm from Wildlife Worldwide and also the Travelling Naturalist in the UK.
So, for Guyana, how have you been doing for Guyana? How has Travelling Naturalist been doing, what has it been doing to promote Guyana so far?
Well, the Travelling Naturalist, we offer a group tour. It's very much a birding emphasis, but naturalists in general, so there will be an element of botany, there will be mammals, of course. From my experience, visiting in September last year, fantastic destination, absolutely fantastic, and we were we just experienced so much. It was wonderful. So we offer a group trip through the Travelling Naturalist, and then we can also do tailor-made departures through our sister company, Wildlife Worldwide.
What are some of the highlights of your trip, actually?
Oh, giant anteater, and just sitting, having sundowners, in the middle of an oxbow, watching, the water lilies coming out and the colours in the sky and the birds. I mean, it was amazing. Sundowners, again, sundowners on a sandbar from Rewa with the skimmers, and just the colour, everything. It was wonderful. Warm people, plenty to see, lots to keep you occupied. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Getting there, how was it like getting from the United Kingdom?
I flew via Barbados, so non-stop into Barbados, and then took Liat down into Ogle. And I would say that's, when I'm discussing Guyana with clients, that's how I suggest they do it. It would be helpful to have, potentially a few more options to get clients there. But you can obviously through Trinidad or through the States, but more connections if you do it that way. So I think Barbados is the way forward.
Let's look at some of the plus and the minuses. What are some of the pluses for Guyana?
The fact that it's completely and utterly untouched. The pristine element of the rainforest. I wasn't expecting savanna. I thought it was an entirely rainforested country, which looking back is very naive. But there's so much to see, and it's how pristine it is that you don't see other tourists, that people who really want to get off the beaten track, nothing better.
How about the minuses, if there's any?
I think to an element you're probably up against places like Brazil's Pantanal, which is becoming more and more accessible, playing very much on the mammal element. You've got jags there, you've got jags in Guyana, but where are you going to see them? Probably more likely in the Pantanal, I would say. But I would say in terms of your bird life, Guyana was phenomenal. The amount of species that we saw, the frequency with which we saw them. You've got the river otters that the Pantanal's got, you've got the giant, anteaters that the Pantanal's got. So potentially a little bit more marketing to put Guyana on the world stage, because I think it's not as well known as some of your other South American counterparts. English speaking also helps, big time, big time.
To sum it up, how do you say Guyana looks forward to the future?
Just keep getting your name out there, because you've got a fantastic product, and it's just making it accessible, cost-wise as well. Other areas in South America offering an Amazonian experience that's not as pristine potentially. So I think going forward, it's just about getting your name out there.
Would you recommend places like the Bird Fair, the World Traveller Market, the international trade shows?
Definitely. People come here. This is the event. Everybody comes to Bird Fair, and and destinations and World Travel Market. And if you're looking for somewhere new, somewhere that has just got so much to offer, definitely. You come here to get inspiration and ideas. So, yeah.
Well, I'd say it was a pleasure talking with you too, and let's see, success for Guyana in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi there, I'm Tom Abbott from Nature Trek. We've been running some fantastic tours to Guyana for many years now. I look after our holidays to Guyana, a wonderful country full of incredible wildlife. We've been seeing harpy eagles, cock of the rock, lots of spectacular birds, the wonderful Kaito Falls. It's been a fantastic destination for us for many years now, and we love sending our groups to such a wonderful country.
Let's look back at last year to now. How has it improved for you?
I'm constantly tweaking the itinerary, making little changes here and there. We're focusing a little bit more at the end of our tour now on the coastal areas. Some very nice birding along the coast and some wetlands, some more wading birds, and going along river channels to see hoatzin, the national bird. But we spend most of our time in the interior, working our way south, starting in the sort of more dense forest habitats and then moving out onto the open savanna. So it's a wonderful mix of different habitats, lots of different species, the giant anteater as we move down to the Oakham, more open areas. So yeah, great diversity, and the itinerary is excellent now. Yeah.
Would you say that have changed over the year from birding to more nature?
Yeah, our tour is sort of general natural history. So we have birds, the most obvious and the main focus, but a little bit of everything. So we appreciate the culture, the mammal watching. We do some spotlighting now, and we had excellent sightings of some tapir and tyra, and occasionally we've seen jaguar. We appreciate the flora as well, the incredible trees. So it's a good all-round general natural history holiday that we enjoy operating, and it works very well.
What are some of the improvements you'd like to see for your clients coming into Guyana?
I'd like to see potentially some more nocturnal, some more nighttime activities maybe, which we have included them recently. It's exciting getting out at night. But we've been running the tour for many years, so I'm very happy with how things work. The lodges make excellent changes that we suggest. We get excellent standard of rooms and the food and everything. So yeah, it all works very well.
How about your transportation from the United Kingdom, from Europe into Guyana? Have you been having any difficulty with that?
It works well. We fly via Trinidad and then into Georgetown, so it works. Lots of our groups like to stay on in Trinidad after the holiday, spend a bit of time. So yeah, it works well, and it encourages people to visit Guyana because we connect through and they can combine Guyana with other destinations. So it works well. Yeah.
Tom, it's been wonderful talking to you at Bird Fair 30 years. Let's hope Guyana continues as well.
Yeah, great to talk to you. And yeah, thanks. Have a great one.
I should make note that Mott Mott Tours had on the first day reportedly sold out their first trip to Guyana for 2019 and was in the process of preparing a second for the same year. Hence, sales were being doubled to Guyana. Tony Thorne made a lecture and presentation entitled Birding Endemics and Wildlife Hotspots of Guyana, which was well received by the audience.
Thank you for coming along. The first thing we do need to ensure is that you know where Guyana is. If you thought we were in Africa, you're at the wrong tent. You should be at the Ghana presentation. So if you thought it was in South America, you're correct, but it is a common mistake. It's incredible how many people don't know Guyana exists at all. So it's part of the Guyana Shield, which is made up of all of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, parts of northern Brazil, a bit of Venezuela, and a small piece of Colombia. So geographically a large area, 2 million square kilometres, and very important as it's one of the 4 remaining large tracts of rainforest left in the world.
Our magazines, Explore Guyana and the few Visit Guyana magazines, were quickly absorbed, as well as order brochures, memorabilia, key rings, pens and notepads, all were distributed with ease. It was a pleasure to have Mr. Pete Oxford, the famous photographer and producer of the books Rupert Nooney and Undiscovered Guyana, visit our booth and gave an interview about his visits, views and future vision on Guyana.
My name is Pete Oxford. I'm British, wildlife photographer, basically concentrating in natural history, anything. I'm basically interested in everything, and a lot of cultural stuff as well. So I spend my life traveling around the world, working for magazines on a freelance basis, more or less. Done all kinds of articles, very wide-ranging articles. And one of the places that I have been to fairly often and done quite a lot of work is Guyana, your beautiful country. So I love it there. I've got lots of friends there, and I've been there many times. I actually first went out to Guyana, I can't even remember how long ago it was, but it was significantly long ago, through a very good friend of mine, Graham Watkins. And Graham and I actually went to university with Graham's brother. And then Graham and I met in the coast of Ecuador, where he came to live where I was already living. And that was about 30 odd years ago. And then he went, as many of you know, to work in Oakham. He was the director of Oakham. And he called me out. He said, "Pete, you've got to come and see this country. It's an amazing country." So I went out and we started photographing, and I really enjoyed it. And I ended up going back with Graham and spent a lot of time in the Rupununi area, in between Oakham and the Rupununi savannas. And we did quite a lot of traveling, made quite a lot of friends there, and ended up with enough material to produce a book, which is this one here. This is Rupununi, Rediscovering a Lost World. And Graham came up with the title because it really is, after Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World, which could well have been set in Guyana. We felt it was time that Guyana got the recognition that it deserves as a tourist destination. So the book is aimed at being educational, but also trying to highlight the beauty, the natural beauty of both the wildlife and the people, and the simplistic way of living of many of the Amerindian communities, which to ourselves as outsiders is another beautiful aspect of Guyana. You know, many people in the Western world strive to better themselves, and the way they think they can do that is by acquiring more possessions and a faster car and a newer car and all that kind of thing. But actually, what we all strive for is peace and tranquility, which is really what you find when you go out into places like the Rupununi, and that's what sucks you in, and that's what really makes you want to. I mean, every time I go there, I sort of get this deep feeling, hell, I could just stay. You know, this is where I want to be. And it's that sort of primordial sense of taking you back to a natural state of relaxation and tranquility. So, that was the first book we did, and then the second book, just for the 50th.
Okay, if we interrupt, before we go into the 50th, Rupununi, because I mean it's very intriguing, looking at the Rupununi Rediscovering a Lost World. How challenging was this for you, getting this book together?
You know, I wouldn't consider it challenging really, because at the end of the day, I spend a lot of time in rainforests. I spend my whole life basically out in the natural world. So things that some people may find challenging for one reason or another, I might not. I might find it more challenging to find my way downtown LA, an area in which some people feel very comfortable. So I don't think challenging was the right word. I wanted to try and be as all-encompassing as possible, and that was really probably the greatest challenge, to end up deciding what gets included, what gets left out of a book. We wanted to try and show it in its best light, highlight some of the issues, but I think that was the greatest challenge, is what do you leave out?
And then you move on to the second one, which was...
Yeah, just in the 50th celebration of the independence of Guyana from the Brits, myself included. I was commissioned by the government of Guyana actually to produce a second book, which is called Undiscovered Guyana, with emphasis on the word over, which is in discovered. And so we flew the country. We flew mostly in the GDF helicopters, and got a different perspective. And the idea of that book was really to celebrate the country for the Guyanese, not so much for the outsider, but it's surprising to me, it always has been surprising to me, how few Guyanese know their own country. And you've got a huge percentage of the population, the countrywide population, living on the coastal strip, and very few of them have ever ventured into what you know as the interior. And both of these books that we produced, the aim is to try and redress that balance and show people that it's not a big green nasty hell, it's actually a wonderful place to be, and to encourage people, Guyanese themselves, to get out into the hinterland, into the interior, and discover for themselves what their country has to offer.
Claire Atnell of Wilderness Explorers launched and distributed the third edition of the Brat Guidebook to Guyana, which also attracted great interest to our booth.
Hi, my name's Claire Antel, and I've just updated the third edition for the Brat Guide to Guyana, which is the only major dedicated guidebook to the country. It's taken me about 8 months to pull together lots of information and all that's going on in the country, lots of new hotels, exciting activities, different restaurants and places to go. We're very proud to launch it here at the Bird Fair, where we've had a lot of interest in Guyana.
Hi, my name is Darren Devines. I'm Vice President for Tourism Marketing and Destination Representation with the Bright Group. One of our clients is the beautiful island of Dominica. We represent the Discover Dominica Authority for the UK Irish markets. So as part of our Bird Fair endeavours for 2017, we have partnered with Guyana. This is the second time we've done it. We've partnered to hold an event at the Dominica High Commission where we have an audience of specialist travel trade and journalists and friends of Guyana and Dominica who want to get a better understanding of the destinations, because I think both destinations have fairly similar product positioning. We're still undiscovered, still unknown. We have a lot of hidden gems. We're not the easiest destinations to get to. We have warm, friendly people. We've got rich, deep culture and history. We've got some fantastic wildlife and nature products. So we feel that by coming together, we have a much stronger voice in terms of capturing a much more applicable audience. So we had our second event, Guyana Dominica Summer Evening event, on the eve of the Rutland Bird Fair show. And we had a fairly strong turnout. It was a stronger turnout than we had in 2017. We had probably over 80 tour operators and sort of like travel trade and journalists and just friends and friends of both destinations. And it was a really, really good opportunity for Dominica to tell a story, so that people know the status of the island, its recovery, where it's going, plans, new developments, an opportunity for our bird specialist from Dominica, his name is Dr. Berry, to enlighten the audience about the key wildlife and nature products of the island. There was Wally, a specialist tour guide from Guyana there, talking about Guyanese products. We partnered with wilderness explorers who basically have been the gatekeepers of Guyana in the UK, and they've done a fantastic job of ensuring that the destination's product in terms of logistics and how to get around and some of the key tourism products and offers are well distributed.
Now let's look at Guyana and Dominica, because now you've got the two destinations. Let's look at getting to the destination from UK, Dominica, Guyana.
Yeah.
How would that impact on the visitor?
Well, at the moment, to get to Dominica, it's an indirect flight. So you have to fly from London to either Antigua or Barbados, or from Paris to Guadeloupe or Martinique to get down. And then you'll have to use the regional flight network via Liat, or there's ferries that travel from the French Caribbean islands to Dominica. Ideally, it would be great if we can have a direct flight, because obviously that means it's a bit more convenient. It makes it easier for foreign investment, because there's a bit more assurance of an easy access route to the destination. So we are working on that. We're constantly lobbying airlines, but obviously to do that, infrastructure within destination needs to change. We need to have more hotels, more hotel capacity, much larger runway. So we have to work both sides of the candle to make sure that in the middle there's a reality that we can strive for. I used to represent Trinidad and Tobago, so I've worked closely with wilderness explorers in the past to try and build a stronger relationship between accessibility to Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana. In 2014, I ran a farm trip tour with some European and UK operators with wilderness explorers. There's about 17 of us all together, and we flew. I managed to get flight sponsorship to fly from the UK to Tobago, and then we had some time in Tobago. We went over to Trinidad, had some time in Trinidad, and then the group went into Guyana and they had some time in Guyana. So we were trying to tap into that traffic and the air routes that would serve Trinidad and Tobago for Guyana. I've had meetings with previous Minister of Tourism for Guyana about having a bit of a lobbying action between Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana for airlines to have a better accessibility. And I think it'd probably be the same for Dominica. We want to have more air accessibility for Dominica. I'm not too sure about flying from Dominica to Guyana, because that's quite a difficult ask. But I think once we find a template that works in terms of lobbying for one destination, we can easily apply it for another destination as well, because the product is there, the value of the product is there, the desire for accessibility of the product is there. We just need to make sure that we pave the way for tourism to come in as easily as possible.
With that, Darren, I think it's very well said, very informative, and success for Guyana and the Dominica product coming up in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a place in time for Guyana and Dominica. Part of me likes that it's as niche. Part of me likes that it's not overrun with tourism. There's issues with over-tourism in many destinations around the world right now. It's all about generating revenues for the local community. But it gets to a point where it actually becomes damaging for the local communities as well. I mean, there's been riots in Barcelona and Venice about over-tourism. So I think it needs to be relative. I think we need to make sure that rather than focus on numbers of people coming to a destination, we need to focus on getting the right people to the destination who are willing to spend, who are willing to invest in that deeper experience of a destination, a much more high-yielding tourist. That's what Dominica needs. It hasn't got the capacity for mass volume. It hasn't got the hotel room stock. I think the room stock on the island at max is just under 1,000 rooms. Since Hurricane Maria last year, we've only got 398 rooms. Only about 40% of the room stock is available. So we need to make sure that going forward, our tourism efforts are really clinical in targeting the right kind of traveler. We're pushing for volunteerism. We're pushing for those that actually want to travel and care and leave a positive legacy behind. And the same for Guyana. I mean, Guyana, it's a frontier of ecotourism, which is at the moment with climate change, is very tentative, it's very volatile, and we have to look after it. You want to attract the right kind of tourist that would love what Guyana has to offer and care for it, and sort of like make sure that they inspire other people. You want to bring people to Guyana and convert them into ambassadors, to actually, promote an excellent ecotourism product. I mean, you've got Georgetown, great history, great culture, amazing cultural vibes. I'm from Trinidad. I know a lot of Guyanese, and I mean, we try to compete on how we party, right? And I think Guyanese could give us a run for our money. But I mean, I have not had the pleasure of experiencing, some of the interior of Guyana. It's a dream of mine. I'd love to do it, and I know that there are many, many hidden gems there. And mass tourism and that kind of product is very volatile. We have to be careful. So I think it's better that you focus on attracting the high-yielding tourists, those who will stay longer, those who will spend more, those who will engage in local communities and local projects, those who will ensure that the tourism revenue reaches the far corners of the destination. Because that's what tourism is about. It's not about money for hotels that are owned by foreigners. It's about money for the people that live there. Because to be honest, aside from the wildlife and nature, the people of Guyana is the core tourism product. Tourism is for you.
Yeah, and with that, I must say it's well said, and we look forward for the future. Well, Guyana, Dominica, and the Caribbean.
Thank you. And I too. To my favorite countries right now. We're on fire.
Thanks, Darren.
To summarize, Guyana made a very great impact this year, 2018, at the Bird Fair. And its platforms like these and any other international events makes it important that Guyana's presence be there, as it's the only way with proper advertising can we take the name of tourism forward. The booth was well decorated and did indeed attract a great volume of people, bearing in mind that what was a plus for Guyana was the interest shown by everyone who visited us. They left very contented and satisfied. The main attraction was our intuitive audio-visual display, which highlighted a number of areas and places to visit in Guyana. The ambience of the Guyana booth, and most of all the courtesy and attention we gave to each and every one who visited our booth. And rather than talking to the people who visited us, instead we spoke with the people, which made everyone comfortable. And with that, Guyana was sold at Bird Fair 2018.